Brian Stiles is founder of the 1967 Shelby Research Group.
We can muscle this through.
Brian will be the curator of this barn find. I'm here to get the story.
I think I was first out here to look at this car and meet Larry back in 2018. It was a fossil find. Larry always said he was going to get that car back on the road. He wanted to get it running, get it back on the road.
Parked in this garage since 1989.
Unfortunately, those plans never happened.
So that's putting a face with the Shelby that he loved. And then it's not just the car.
Lawrence Fetter, a mechanical engineer employed by Ford in 1967.
And that was taken, see that? Where would that have been? Detroit? He purchased it in Detroit, correct?
Correct.
Bought the Shelby brand new, January 1967.
That's an apartment
so,
complex.
But they didn't live in it.
382 Yorkshire, Dearborn Heights, Michigan.
My name is Marcy Simon.
And
I was young. I mean, I was born when he bought this car. I was only, a young child. So my father's eldest daughter. When I was born, he had a Corvette. What the year of the Corvette?
62.
Red with the scoops.
Beautiful Corvette that was his pride and joy.
Poster upstairs.
Yes.
And I couldn't fit in the car. It wasn't an appropriate car for a newborn, so he had to sell that car, and that's when he bought the Shelby.
I do remember riding in it. I remember him, just switching gears and going real fast. And, I felt so cool in the car just because there was no one else that had a car like that.
Number 244. Early enough to affect changes. See, Larry was racking up miles on his Shelby. On July 23rd, he sent Carol Shelby this now famous letter detailing problems with the car. And not just words. Larry included his own hand-drawn illustrations. October 23rd, 1967, Shelby Automotive. Dear Mr. Fetter, your letter to Mr. Carroll Shelby was referred to this office. In detail, this 3-page letter cited the changes made to both 1967 and 1968 Shelby production. As a result of problems and fixes, Larry illustrated in his letter of 3 months ago. Fred Goodall, Chief Engineer, Shelby Automotive.
If you look at those tires on the car, those are Goodyear Speedway GT-350 large letter tires. Those tires were new on that car. That had to be within, let's say, that first year.
That's Detroit. Because we moved from Detroit to St. Louis. Sherry was born in St. Louis.
Here's another photo.
Right,
of
that's
those.
When I was 3 months old.
And he's not smiling in that picture.
He doesn't smile. He was a very serious person.
But he is, I'm just looking at that photo, and the only thing that's missing is the thin black tie.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It would fit
forever,
right at
Well, yeah.
that was the style back then.
Especially for an engineer.
Yeah.
We have all of his ties upstairs. I'm sure the original ones are.
That's a picture of how we're going to see it today.
Oh, wow. And when did the car go down when it quit running? What year was that and what happened?
I believe it's 1989. Since about that time, it's been parked in the garage over there behind me. I'm Ben Simon. I am Larry's son-in-law. I'm married to Larry's older daughter, Marcy.
There's really a Shelby under all that, huh?
Yes, there is.
Brian, is this original paint or do you know?
It is original paint, yes. This car's got some sprayed on primer to mitigate some rust issues, but it's all original.
It's got a musty smell. Can you hold that?
Yeah.
Kind of get back here. Larry passed away 4 months earlier, and his daughters are ungaraging the car today.
Jerry, there's limited lights, but I could turn the lights on in
I
here.
got plenty of light in here.
Okay.
So,
His goal was to try to keep things out of the landfill that he didn't feel belonged in the landfill. Unfortunately, they're sitting on top of this Shelby right here. When he was younger and able to, he was a very avid recycler. He had a trailer he would load up with all kinds of goods and then would haul it to the landfill. It was his daily driver until about 1989.
yes, we're pulling the car out today. I know it will be much easier to see, to get inside, to open the hood, but I like to see a car in its state of discovery before it's been touched. Wow, this is amazing.
Jerry, did you leave breadcrumbs so you can find your way back out?
Yes. I'm looking inside now. And man, that steering wheel looks well preserved. I can see the 4-speed shifter. Looks like the stock round knob. We're in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's one of the finds of the century. Up ahead, an open side door.
Would one of you like to come talk to Jerry about the garage?
My father, his second passion next to the Shelby was the environment and not wanting to throw anything away, and everything should be recycled. He was very opposed to throwing anything away in his love of the environment. The problem is, as he got older, his intentions of recycling didn't happen. So everything that should have been recycled, a lot of it is still in the home, in the garage. It's a very difficult chapter of my father's life for me to see. He was trying to do his part. Unfortunately, it never left his home, but he had good intentions on keeping, like she said, things out of the landfill. But unfortunately, it's still here.
To help with the ungaraging, Brian networked with members of his 67 Shelby Research Group in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. What have we here?
Right. My name is Bill Baker. This is number 1609 GT-350. I've owned it for 30 years now. I'm from over in the Charlotte area and brought it over on the trailer because I'm not going to drive that far. I was invited to participate in today's event. Got to bring the car.
All right.
Moral support.
Daughter, his eldest daughter.
Bill.
Nice to meet you, Bill. Thank you for being here today.
So Bill is a very valuable asset in our group because he scours the newspaper ads, find cars and the history on these cars.
Got a lot of free time.
Good problem to have.
Well, I guess we're kind of giving it a send-off with some other Shelbys.
How are you?
Hey, good.
Brian Glover.
Hi, this is awesome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm Sherry.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Marcy.
How are you?
Daughter, husband, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Larry's eldest daughter. And this is
Very nice to meet you,
so
Brian.
it's nice to officially meet you, Brian.
How are you?
And what do you got here?
Oh, I've got a, this is a 1967 GT350. A previous owner put a date correct Paxton on it, so it has a Paxton supercharger on it. That makes it a fun car.
What's your name?
Hap Merritt.
What did you bring?
A Harley Davidson Fat Boy Gray Ghost.
And
I'm Ted Stables, and I brought a 68 Shelby GT-500 KR.
the thing hadn't been out since '89.
Hasn't seen the
right.
sun.
All right. Well, let's get this off. Cover off this one.
Get this thing out of the way, right?
Got plenty of people to help. Kelmark, is that the way they came? Looks like.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Will it run?
No, it doesn't run right now. It hasn't run in probably 15 years.
Oh.
But, yeah, we're looking. Yeah, we're looking for someone to pick that one up.
Kelmar. Try not to hit the red car. Okay.
All right, you need to shut the door.
Yeah, I gotta shut the door.
Inspected in 2001. There's a jack there.
The engine's back over here. than in this one.
Small block Chevy 327. You know. Right. You had a 327, right? Or did you have the big block?
All right, game time.
Yeah.
This is where you find the brown brick.
That's what he worried about.
Yikes.
It's under there somewhere.
Yeah.
What's the
Tape on to make sure the estate folks wouldn't
Lawnmower.
take it.
John is purchasing the car.
Okay.
We know it's from what Brian has told us. It is going to a wonderful home, and we are very appreciative of you.
Where should we put all the stuff?
Yeah. Let's,
I think maybe we can push it to the front.
This is my first time buying a car like this.
I think the best thing, we'll just get it out of the way.
I have my aunt's Mustang that was given to me. I'm 58 years old, so my aunt gave me my Mustang when I was 16, and I've completely restored that car.
Wow.
So this car is going to go to a loving, loving home, and I promise you I'm going to keep it exactly how it is. I'm going to leave the original, that 428 Cobra Jet engine that he had in there. I'm going to have it redone and just going to leave it as it is in the original paint, too.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. We feel so honored that it's going to someone that's going to love and care for
Did he go to
it.
Purdue?
Yes, he did.
Purdue alumni.
Yeah.
Better place to dump this guy?
Look, let's do. Yeah, come on.
I'll take it wherever you want.
Thank you. So sorry, y'all.
And my dad really been very happy.
TLC all day long. I think if my wife would say the car, she'd be worried if the car could get pregnant. So,
Wait a second, John. John, so you've told your wife about this, right?
oh, yes, she's all on board. I promise you, Brian, you can give them my contact information. They're more than welcome to reach out to me. Once the car gets settled back in San Francisco, I promise I'll send photos of what the car looks like and what, you know what I mean, so they can see it.
Follow the journey. That would be very special
Yes,
for us.
we would love that.
We'd appreciate that so much.
Truly, thank you for letting me be the next caretaker of this automobile.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
we
sincerely.
know it'll be in wonderful hands.
Yes.
Thank you, John. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Pleasure.
I don't want you to touch it.
Thank you.
7 years ago.
So you came here in garage already?
7 years ago.
How much stuff is there then?
So what do you think so far?
I've never seen the whole car before. Like I said, I saw the car 7 years ago. It had a lot of stuff on it, but there's been a lot more stuff added in 7 years. This is a 67 Shelby GT-350 steel framed hood.
It came off of an original 67 GT350.
Absolutely. Yep, this is an original steel framed hood. And if we look at the bottom side, I believe it would have been a white car.
Now, could you tell what car this came off of if you really checked? No?
No, you wouldn't know.
But it's original and it's correct. And the fact that all of this structure is uncut shows that it was for the small block and not the large block.
Okay, so they were the same except they didn't cut this out.
It was to clear the air cleaner.
GT-500, this got notched back here and up here to clear the oval air cleaner.
Yeah, otherwise it would hit.
Car's moving already.
I've never seen this car outside. The Kel mark's always been right in front of the garage. And this will be the first time the car's in the sunlight. So I've been looking forward to this for a while. Tail lights are good. Original flat panel with the bezels without the visible hardware. This is what you'd expect on an early car. This should be a steel frame deck lid. This is car 244 67 Shelby GT-500 4-speed, lime gold metallic paint, black trim. DSO 2528. It's a relatively early built car, right? Not super early, but relatively early built. I think it was built beginning of January of 67. Production started, the first 67 Shelbys were completed by Shelby American October 19th of 66. All right. Sounds probably an exhaust. What you see left of the original paint. Car's never been restored. Larry Fetter owned this car, bought it new while he was an engineer working for Ford Motor Company up in Michigan. I think what we can start with, right, just because this is fun for the masses before we get a little technical on this stuff, is let's start talking about some of the features that we find on an early car like car 244. You would expect it to have mag stars, and those are original mag stars. You can see the natural finish on these. It was unpainted on the early cars. Those are the original wheels. The Shelby hood, early car. You have the steel frame, the steel understructure. And as we were talking about with the other hood, you'll notice that this one has the cuts to the structure to clear the aluminum air cleaner, the oval air cleaner lid.
Oh, this little cutout here.
Yeah, front and rear. Now another early car feature, the first grills were slanted like this, and a single piece from the top all the way down into the lower grill opening. This is a next iteration. This is a two-piece grill. The top and the bottom are two separate pieces of material. Again, that was done to aid with the installation. It was very difficult to get a single piece in there. They struggled with everything on these cars. The earliest cars on the inboard high beams had a band clamp mounting system for the high beams here in the center of the grill. This is the second iteration of how this was mounted with these bracket systems. That transition, I believe, took place about the beginning of December. The slanted grills, you'll also notice there's no emblem on the grill. Everyone expects there to be an emblem on the cars. Both iterations of the slanted grill did not get emblems.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
How many people know that?
Depends on if you're in our group, you probably know.
Well put.
Be a GT-500 badge. It would be the same badge that was used on the passenger dash and on the deck lid.
And on the deck lid.
Right. Some of the really early cars, by the way, would have a hand-engraved VIN tag on them. This car does not. The hand-engraved VIN tags were October-built car or October-completed cars. October '66 it is, and I think into maybe very early November. And there was actually a recall on those. They were supposed to have been swapped out at the dealership for an actual stamped VIN.
Well, this is a stamped VIN.
This is a stamped VIN because it came later.
Can we get into the engine next or what?
Let me show you this. Two things on the front end here.
Okay.
The seal, screwed in. That was an early car thing. All right, and then they went to the staples. So you got the screws. This is what you'd expect to find in here. There were 3 different fiberglass front ends on these cars. This is the earliest style. It's one piece. This whole nose cone is one piece, and it's made using a fiberglass cloth, laid cloth approach. So if you look in here, and I'll give you some light if it helps, you can see the cloth pattern down there. It's a cloth mash. These were such a problem to build cars with these early front ends that there was an emergency interim front end that they introduced. It was a 2-piece front end. And we see those 2-piece front ends only for about a couple months. And you can see them, you notice them, there's a seam right down the center, and it overlapped. So they were able to resize the width of the front ends by a 2-piece design. That was interim until they came out with the final 1-piece front end that fit better, was re-engineered, and was made using a chop gun approach. So it's a very different texture on the back side. These are the 3 different front ends. So this is exactly what we want to see on this car, is an early 1-piece front end with the cloth mesh.
So what you're finding here is a car that hadn't been disturbed much.
Now, other than the engine in this car, this car is a time capsule. The engine in this car, by Larry's own admission, is a Cobra jet and was replaced at some point in the car's life due to a failure with the factory 428 Special Interceptor that came from Ford. This also suffered an engine problem, which is why Larry put the car up and it hasn't been out of this garage since the late 80s. But it is not the original engine for the car. It appears to be a short block. I mean, the valve covers obviously were transplanted. You got the carburetors, the dual 600 CFM Holley BJBKs and the oval air cleaner lid. These are all, the top end was transplanted onto this Cobra Jet's short block.
The dual 4's still there.
Dual 4s are still there.
Now, how do you put dual 4s on a Cobra Jet? Does the intake fit?
Intake goes with it, yeah.
The whole top end fits.
Whole top ends, 428 block, short blocks of 428. Not much other than the top end is correct on this that we can talk about. You know, all 67 Shelbys came with what's called the export reinforcement kit, which included this single piece export brace. And this car was supposed to have these, what they call beehives. They actually call them beehives on the paperwork. There should have been welded washers on the top of these beehives, which reinforce the beehive. A lot of cars didn't get them. And I think it was just a training issue at the Ford San Jose plant. They were just grabbing them from the wrong bin because there's almost as many cars with them as without them.
Can you take off that air cleaner and we'll see the carbs? Because the carbs are really hard to get now, the originals, right?
Mm-hmm. So that is a nice original early style base before they went to the cast. Or this is the early car base. Yeah, your carburetor numbers are going to be on the back side. We can get a camera back there and try and get pictures off the back side, but I'm not going to worry about that. I mean, the engine's been changed anyways. What Bill's trying to do here is see if we can find the secondary Shelby VIN, which would have been hand stamped into the apron here just outside of the passenger shock tower.
Brian, can you explain the plaque on the center of the rally pack?
I heard you could send away for them, to Shelby at a later date. It wouldn't have been specific when the car was built.
Send away for the plaque?
For the send away, like you could kind of send in a letter and order it.
Can you get a good picture of that?
For the plaque? Yeah.
Exclusively made for, and it's got his name. Did you ever notice that?
No.
It's very neat.
Wow, that's amazing.
But I don't
Just incredible.
made especially for Lawrence.
Personalized for him. Great.
All of a sudden it's getting hot. Maybe it's just our
There's so much to learn. There's so much to know. It's incredible.
Brian, look at the wheel. There's variations of those wheels.
This is exactly what you would expect to find in an earlier car. It's what we call a short boot, and by boot we're talking about these black tabs where the wood wheel meets the spoke. Early cars, about halfway through April of 67, had these short boots. Later cars had a boot that was twice the height. So we call those a tall boot steering wheel.
Brian will post something on the SRG, and it'll be just the angle of the cut of this part of the door, and the variation's amazing. Everybody chimes in with, I've got car number, and this is, what I have, and it's amazing how much variation there is.
Like, what are things he pointed out in his letter? Can you show us?
The exhaust,
which was, the exhaust fumes were a huge problem with these cars because the rear ends weren't sealed.
I didn't try. I didn't like it.
Now you can see, normally you just got the, a seam along here, but you can see Larry tried to caulk it up because this was a huge problem. When they cut the big old holes in the Mustang tail panel, it was not sealed properly, and as you drove down the road, the negative pressure would pull in fumes and dust and debris.
Just like Larry illustrated in his letter to Carroll Shelby, and that Shelby's return letter noted they had made the fix.
So that was part of Larry's complaint, was you got to seal up the rear of the car.
So that explains probably why he put his exhaust pipes
On the
out in
sides.
front of the rear wheels.
Oh, he put a side exhaust on the car.
Are they there now?
They are. They're still there.
We're getting to see the engineering work the Ford engineer actually did.
I think the exhaust ought to be left on there.
My understanding is that John's going to leave this car pretty much the way that it is, other than the mechanical rehab so that it's drivable. What I wanted to show you about these side stripes, a couple things. Some people obviously mistakenly center the designation. There's a white stripe on this side like a 68 or 66. 67 is supposed to be justified to the door gap, so there's no white stripe here. That's number one. More importantly, this is the original vinyl lettering on this car, and the way that you can tell is its imperfections. If you look at this G, it's more rounded than a GT-350 and the reproduction GT-500 stripes. See how this side here tapers up? It's not perfectly flat, it's not blocky like you'd see on a GT-350. So the imperfections of this, the more rounded zeros, okay, the difference in weights between the top and bottom, this is an original GT-500 lettering, vinyl lettering. We're working on reproducing this from an NOS set, so hopefully more cars will be correct in the future, but that's the real deal.
What do you got there?
Is it another oil?
It's like another oil pump.
Yep. I don't know if that came off his old engine. It's nice that he saved everything though.
He did.
I know.
It's the truth.
There you go. That's the real radiator. Yep.
How can you tell?
Well, WMO, Western Modine. San Jose cars use the Western Modine radiator plant. And there's your part number, C7ZEY2. That tag should be there as well. But he took it out obviously when he was doing his engine work. And then of course, he built his own fan shop. This is a Larry engineered fan shop.
Good for him.
Look at that, he's even got wind lace down here to prevent it from rubbing on the radiator.
Recycler then too.
He was.
Yeah.
This is nice, everybody's thinking about your dad.
Yep. Yep. Now here's another thing.
I know.
Up until a couple years
no,
ago.
you mean Micro C.
No, it is micro.
I am, but I don't treat mice. There's a dead mouse in here.
Where? Did you find it?
Mickey?
He said there's a dead mouse and it's freaking me out. I'm a vet, but roaches and mice. No. No. Where is it?
They're in the floor. There's probably a few things living in there.
Oh, I see it.
Where? Oh.
Well, there's obviously.
Oh, there he is.
This is a really important thing with a Shelby because remember, federally, this car was titled under its Shelby VIN. And that was done from a liability standpoint. When Shelby put their VIN on this car, Ford had no liability. That was the relationship. So the Ford VIN, once it got covered up, and the Ford VIN on this car, unfortunately, is in three places, and it's very vulnerable. There's one underneath the Shelby tag. There's one just outside of it, under this fender lip. And then over here on the passenger side in the same location, the Ford VIN would be underneath this fender lip here. And if you're buying a 67 Shelby,
Ideally, you want that VIN, you want the secondary Shelby VIN, and you want the Ford VINs. What a lot of people do is they go the easy route, and they will drill one of these original rivets out, right? You could drill a rivet out, then they'll take this and they'll rotate it, the Shelby tag, and that will expose the Ford VIN, stamped Ford VIN underneath it. I would like to leave these original rivets in there and do it a little bit differently. So a trick is that we're going to take these fender bolts, we're going to loosen them, and I'm going to drive some shims under here and lift this fender up a little bit. I'm going to try and get access to that hidden Ford VIN right here. And if we can, it's kind of neat. Takes a little bit more work, but then we won't have to de-rivet the tag.
Let me take these bolts out now.
Yeah. Well, I'll start on this side. We can do this on both sides of the car. We'll start on this side.
So you're going to do how many? 6 of them back? 1, 2, 3, 5?
6.
6. There you go. That's practically the whole fender, huh?
Yeah, we don't want to bend it, so we're going to just let it move. It's bolted in enough other places. So I got some high-dollar wood shims. We're just going to drive them under here and try and lift this fender up very gently. Use these out in Salt Lake on the green car that we just authenticated. Now, sometimes you'll run into problems when you do this because the dum-dum that's under here is a water seal. It dries and hardens, and it creates kind of a little bit of a dam.
Yep. Is this your invention?
No. There's so many smart people out there in this hobby. We all just learn from one another. Now, there's just dirt that's been trapped underneath this. And obviously, we're trying to be really careful around the VIN here. Sometimes you can see one side better than another. But just trying to get any debris out of here so that we can get to this VIN. Now, we need to get in there with some light. All right, star 7R02Q, and then I've got 6 additional digits, which are the Ford sequence number for this car. Decoding the Ford VIN, the 767R San Jose, 0 Mustang, 2 Fastback. Q would be the engine code on a GT-500, although the earliest cars, some of them did get stamped with an S. And then the 6-digit sequence number, which is when the computer record for this car was created. I'm not going to share that 6-digit sequence number, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to verify it in my database that it is the correlating Ford VIN for this Shelby number.
Brian, I want to shake your hand. That was excellent.
Oh, you enjoyed it, did you?
That was,
okay,
yeah. I love to learn something new. I just want to mention for people watching this video, there's a Ford VIN directly underneath this Shelby VIN plate, but there's also a Ford VIN that is actually underneath the edge of this fender lip on the, and so it's stamped in this fender apron, and if you raise this up, you can actually shine a light there and read the Ford VIN.
In fact, they're the same exact. They were stamped at the exact same time. It's just many people get lazy and they just drill. What Brian did was actually a nice, correct way to do it.
So interesting.
But a lot of people, they'll talk you. They'll say, "We want to drill that out." And
it's a little bit more effort, and it's
a nicer way to do it.
Not for the faint of heart. But,
no, but it's a nicer way to do it.
That's you know.
So interesting.
The fruit at the top of the tree tastes the best. Not because it's the ripest, because it takes most effort to reach.
You've earned the appetite at
yes,
that point.
we have. Anyway, so, and you'll probably run into certain amounts of dum-dum and things you've got to try and clean out of there. We got pretty lucky on this side. Let's see what
you got to do the same on this side?
We're going to look for the other Ford hidden VIN, which would be in about the same location as they are on that side, but on the passenger side.
when they did this, they weren't planning ahead so there would be a secret hidden Ford VIN.
Seems like what
They just, if they could have probably removed the whole thing, they would have. It was just easier to cover it, and leave it covered by putting a VIN plate over it. In this case,
Here it is.
It's advantageous to us now to use that.
We got the same Ford VIN as on the other side. Star 7R02Q14, and I'll leave the other 4 digits out for confidentiality. But this is the Ford VIN that matches the at least one Ford VIN on that side. We can't see the other one, which then does correlate to the Shelby car number, which is in 2 locations on this car. We have one more place to look, which is, it would be icing on the cake if the 4-speed transmission in the car still has the Ford VIN stamped to the casting boss on the bottom of that transmission.
Bill went ahead and cleaned the gunk off of the secondary Shelby VIN stamp over here, which is, we were talking about it earlier, watch out, that's stamped into the passenger side just outside of the shock tower. So there's your 67 year 400, that's the package code, right? That's GT-500 4-speed base car. F for fastback. 7, which is the lime gold paint. A, which is the black trim. 00244 is the car number. That is the Shelby VIN secondary. It's going to match this VIN over here on this side. It's also a 4-speed car, and the 4-speed car should also have the Ford VIN stamped into the casting boss on the transmission.
You got your flashlight?
I've got a phone. We're going to try and get the Ford VIN off the transmission casting boss. It's the last Ford VIN to find on the car, found on a 4-speed transmission, not on automatic. 67 Shelby's, at least the GT-500s never got VIN stamped on the blocks, and the GT-350s were only stamped for the first few months. So transmissions, they stamp the 4 speeds throughout production. On an early car like this, we're going to expect to find the full 11-digit Ford VIN, and on a very late built car, we'd expect to find only the last 4 to 5 digits of the VIN.
You need some light? Does that help?
You see it?
I just shot blindly and I missed.
How does it look on reading?
7R02Q.
That's the Ford VIN, so we can't show people, right?
That's the Ford VIN, yeah.
Now, did Ford stamp that or Shelby?
Ford, yeah.
So a regular Mustang would have a stamping there too?
I would think so, but I don't really track them. I don't know if all Ford Mustangs, yeah, I don't know. I mean, or was it just a warranty issue because of the Shelbys were high performance cars? I don't know.
No, because I think it was done at the Ford factory, and
it was
before they were even knowing whether they were going to be Shelbys or regulars, right?
No, because the Q code's going to tell you it's a Shelby. Yeah.
Tell me, what's your name?
Todd.
I'm Jerry Heasley.
Nice to meet
So
you.
you're going to pick up the car?
Uh-huh.
You got other cars on there, or how many?
Yes. Right now, I think, not mine, I've got to unload mine, take this car to the big truck. Let me get unloaded. And
So where's he going? So what do you think?
Well, eventually it's going to Oklahoma, where it's going to start the process of getting it running. That's what we understand.
Sad to see it leave. Yeah. This is the final goodbye.
I mean, it's been with me our entire lives, both of us. Yeah. Me first. I mean, I was just born, so it's been a part of our lives a long time, and my father's obviously. So, but it's time for the next chapter, and I'm at peace with that. I'm at peace.
Excited to see where it's going and how it's taken care of.
That's
and
right. It's gonna
the end results.
Have a new life, because it's not had a life in the garage, so it's going to actually be running. It's going to be where it needs to be. I think it's a positive thing. Like, to keep it in a garage or to sell it to somebody that we didn't know what the process was going to be, and that it's going to have a whole new life. This is the much better situation. We feel very fortunate to have met Brian and to have had his guidance. Extremely fortunate.